Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to our playthrough of Arkham Horror, the card game, where we're taking on the Dream Eaters campaign. This week, it's Jenny and Ursula's turn to face a waking nightmare. Last week, Lola and Harvey got rocked, taking a mental trauma apiece but earning 4 experience. With that, we have everything set up for this week's scenario, so let's set the scene.
Scenario 1B, Waking Nightmare. It has been more than 24 hours since your companions fell asleep. Over the course of the past day, your curiosity has slowly turned to concern and then dread. The problem began when one of your friends started to toss and turn violently in their sleep. You snatched to attention and tried to shake them awake, but it was to no avail. You tried everything. Physical contact was no use, and water did nothing but soak their clothes and bed fruitlessly. Even opening their eyelids did not wake them, and in the process, you noticed that their pupils had fully dilated and their eyes were glazed over with a milky white fog. You have no idea what this could mean for your friends. Have they managed to find their way to the land Virgil Gray described in his writings? Or has something more sinister taken root within their minds and bodies? Just to be safe, you decide to take your companions to St. Mary's Hospital. If something ails them physically, perhaps the doctors there can discern what is wrong. Otherwise, you will simply have to watch over them and hope they return safely to the waking world. St. Mary's is the only hospital in the town of Arkham, and it is a fixture of its uptown neighborhood. You explain the situation to Nurse Greenberg, the head nurse at the hospital, who instructs several other nurses to carry your companions into the emergency ward on stretchers. She tells you with a warm, friendly smile that your doctors will be examined by Dr. Maheswaran, but other than that, you are left entirely in the dark. Hours pass. You hear nothing about the status of your companions. You still have not met with Dr. Maheswaran, and you're starting to grow impatient. You feel something crawling along your arm, and you instinctively brush it away. Then wonder if it was an insect or a figment of your imagination. You begin to question whether bringing your friends here was the right choice after all. Eventually, you decide to take matters into your own hands. It is late at night, and the receptionist who instructed you to stay in the waiting room is nowhere to be seen. In fact, there are eerily few people roaming the halls of the hospital. With nobody to stop you, you sneak off into the emergency ward to find your friends. It does not take long for you to find their room. Your companions lie asleep on clean, white cots, their sleep anything but peaceful. They are pale-faced and sweaty. One of them tosses and turns in their sleep, their brow furrowed with pain or worry. Dr. Maheswaran does not seem surprised by your intrusion. Shivani Maheswaran, she introduces herself coldly without looking up from her clipboard. You're the ones who brought them in, right? Before you ask, no, I've never seen anything like this before in my life, she says with a hint of dry impatience. You demand that she tell you everything she knows about their condition and not give you the runaround. With a sigh, she puts her clipboard down and addresses you frankly. Listen, I may be new to Arkham, but I've seen enough inexplicable maladies in this town to fill entire careers in medicine. I understand why you are concerned. Your friends, she struggles to find the right words. They're not simply asleep. It is as if they are hovering somewhere between sleep and unconsciousness, or even death. They are not aware of anything happening around them, but appear to be reacting to some kind of internal stimuli. Without hesitation, you ask if they are dreaming. Dreaming, Dr. Maheswaran replies. It is unlikely, though it might account for their mannerisms. Honestly, and I know this is not exactly reassuring, none of this makes any sense to me, medically speaking. Just then, you see a large, hairy spider crawling on the chest of one of your friends. Well, that is odd. Dr. Maheswaran brushes the spider off, and several more emerge from the sheets to take its place. You and the doctor both take several steps back out of pure instinct. You hear heavy footsteps in the hallway outside the emergency ward, and then the lights begin to flicker. Okay, that is more than simply odd. What in the world is going on out there? Dr. Maheswaran asks anxiously. For just a moment, you think you hear one of your sleeping companions whisper something. Are they indeed dreaming? And if so, what does their condition have to do with these strange events? The investigators must decide. Choose one. Convince Dr. Maheswaran to come with you while you investigate for her safety and yours. Proceed to Intro 1. Convince Dr. Maheswaran to stay with the patients, or proceed to Intro 2. Convince Dr. Maheswaran to stay with the patients and keep them safe while you investigate. Proceed to Intro 3.
So I feel like somebody extra who's not really involved with the investigation is just going to cause us problems. So we're actually going to keep Dr. Maheswaran out of the way and keep our friends safe. So we're going to So we're going to tell Dr. Mythos to stay with the patients and keep them safe while we go investigate. So that'll bring us to Intro 3.
Waking Nightmare Intro 3. Yes, of course. Their safety is paramount, but do come back and tell me what is going on, please. She shivers. I really hate this place after dark. You nod and venture back into the hospital's waiting room. In your campaign log, record Dr. Mythos stayed with her patients.
I'm just making a note of that in the campaign log. Okay, so there was another card from Setup that I won't go into because we might have a later campaign where we use that card. But anyway, that is everything as far as the intro and setup. I've done almost everything else off camera. So the next thing to do will be to draw both of their starting hands and get ready to start the scenario. So I'll be back with that done. And we're back up top. Both our ladies have their opening hands ready to go, so let's take a look at their opening hands. First up, let's look at Jenny's opening hand. Her opening hand consists of 2 copies of Leo De Luca, which I'm not very happy to see, the Louisiana Lion, 6 resources to play, it's got a lore icon on a commit, ally criminal, you may take an additional action during your turn, I was born in Mississippi, Louisiana just sounded better, 2 health and 2 sanity, and like I mentioned, takes up the ally slot. Then we have a copy of Arcane Studies, 2 resources to play, will and lore on commit. If you remember from Lola's last week, she had a couple of the other skill cards that you could dump resources into. This one is the same thing as those, just for lore and will. And as you might remember from the intro video, Jenny's able to take this because of her deck building options. So she like I mentioned, is one of the Dunwich 5, along with Zoe Samaras, Jim Culver, Ashcan Pete, and Zoe, Jim, Ashcan Pete, and Rex Murphy. He's the other one of the Dunwich 5, who can take up to 5 cards from up to 5 level 0 from any other class. So that's part of Jenny's 5. She's also got and continuing with her hand, she's got a copy of a 45 Thompson. This is one of the dual class cards, but it's not actually going to count toward her 5 out of class cards because one of the classes on the card is Rogue. And as a rule, when you have cards that interact with multiple deck building restrictions, it will fall under the less restrictive deck building option. But anyway, 6 resources to play it, combat on commit. It's a weapon, 2-handed weapon, 5 ammo for uses. As an action, spend 1 ammo to fight. You get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. The flavor text on here, if I can ever read it. Used by both gangsters and police officers, the fully automatic Thompson submachine gun was favored due to its accuracy and high volume of fire. So handy to have a weapon there. And our last card in the opening hand for Jenny is Unexpected Courage. 2 question marks on commit. It's a skill, max 1 committed per skill test. Sometimes the most selfless acts can come from the strangest places. We'll have to keep that in mind. Now for Ursula's opening hand. Her first card is the Tooth of Esli, Mortal Reminder. 3 resources to play, will on commit. You get +1 will and +1 agility while resolving an ability on a treachery card. Reaction: after you succeed at a skill test while resolving an ability on a treachery card, exhaust Tooth of Esli to draw a card. And again, that's the accessory slot. Next up, we have a copy of Fieldwork. 2 resources to play, agility on commit. Reaction: after you move to a location, if that location has at least 1 clue on it, exhaust Fieldwork. You get +2 skill value for the next skill test you perform this phase. If this didn't get genned into the Explorers Club, nothing would. Next up, we have a copy of Guts. It's a skill card, 2 will icons on commit, max 1 committed per skill test. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. Stay back, I'll handle this. Hopefully she will when the time comes. And then we have a Mystic card, the Chthonian Stone, Stygian Waymark. 3 resources to play, lore icon on commit. Seal one of the bad symbols, so seal a skull, a cultist, a rune, or an elder thing. What seal means is you go into the chaos bag, take the relevant token out, and seal it on this card. And then it's got a forced. After you reveal a tentacle symbol during a skill test, return the Chthonian Stone to your hand. It was left behind for a purpose, and it's a one-hand slot. And then last up, we have Ursula's unique ally. Not her unique ally, but the one I generally look for at the start of a scenario. Dr. Milan Christopher, Professor of Entomology. 4 resources to play, lore icon on commit. You get +1 lore. Reaction after you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak. Takes up the ally slot, as you see by the bottom right. So anyway, that will do it for our opening hands. Let's go over to the map and we'll see what we're up against over there. We're back with our map. As you can see, the starting map for Waking Nightmares is a little bit larger than we had for Beyond the Gates of Sleep for Lola and Harvey last week. So we see Jenny and Ursula already set up at their starting location. They're starting at the waiting room right down here. So we will circle the other 3 locations, and then we'll come back to the waiting room because we'll get to look at both the unrevealed and revealed sides. So first we'll take a look at the records office. A plaque next to the door of this room reads, Records. Underneath that, another sign warns, Staff Only. Well, we're going to make a mess of that, I'm sure. Then we have the emergency room. Another St. Mary's location. You peek into the emergency ward and find several other rooms besides the one where your companions are being kept. Well, it is a hospital, so we have to expect that. We also have an experimental therapies ward. A sign over this hallway reads, Experimental Therapies. You're not sure what sorts of remedies the staff at St. Mary's experiment with, and you're not sure you want to know. I'm not sure I would either, but then we come to where Jenny and Ursula are starting, the waiting room. The hospital's waiting room is pleasant but boring, with several rows of benches and chairs. Nearby, a short bookshelf is filled with a variety of reading material, most of which you find dreadfully monotonous. But we also get, like I said, this is where Jenny and Ursula are starting, so we get to look at the revealed side as well. Shroud of 3, 1 per investigator, so 2 clues. While waiting room is not infested, it gains Action Resign. You flee the hospital, leaving your companions behind. In the corner of the windows, silken webbing creeps along the glass, spun almost of its own accord. Was that there when you first arrived? Alright, so we'll go get the 2 clues for that. There are our 2 clues. We'll move back up top now that we've set the map scene. We'll move back up top and go through the act and agenda decks. We're back up top, so let's take a look at our agenda first. Agenda 1A, Halls of St. Mary's. A heavy, ominous feeling haunts you as you explore St. Mary's Hospital. Its halls are eerily dark and empty of everything but the occasional orderly making the late-night rounds. Lights flicker and shadows seem to dart from corner to corner. The hospital's maze of corridors has begun to take on an almost dreamlike haziness. You notice yet another spider crawling up your leg and brush it away, wondering what is causing them to appear so often. We need 2 Doom to advance that, so we'll be advancing very quickly. And our act. Act 1A, Looking for Answers. Something is wrong with your companions, and while medical science has come far, it can't account for what is happening to them. You've decided to take it upon yourself to figure out what is wrong and set things right. We need 4 per investigator, so 8 clues to advance that. So that's the act and the agenda decks. Now we're actually into our first investigation phase of the game, and I think we'll start off with Jenny. Let's go say hi to Jenny. Hello, Jenny. We'll go ahead and start this game off with you. So we'll put your spin down on 1. And we'll set this D6 to 3 actions. So that's what I'm going to be using these D6s for. Ursula has one as well. This is just something I'm going to use to track the number of actions they have remaining in a turn. Now, if the dashboard and tokens look familiar, that's because they're the same dashboard and tokens I unboxed in the video on Thursday. So if you haven't watched that, please consider giving that a watch as well. But anyway, for Jenny's first action, her first action is going to be to take another resource. So I'll actually take one of these away and then flip. Starts off on a 1, which is upside down. Well, there's the 1. We're going to take a resource to flip it over to the 3. So that's action 1, meaning she has 2 actions left. Now her second action, I'm going to spend 6 resources, but I'm not going to change the die on the card. When you see the card, you'll see why. So I'm going to play one of her copies of Leo De Luca, which gives her an effective 2 additional actions on the turn. So we'll put him into play. Again, he's the one that lets you take an additional action during your turn. 2 sanity and 2 health on for soak. So that's why we're leaving the die at 2 actions. Now for her third action, we might as well try to investigate this at even, work on getting some of these clues. So we'll go for our chaos bag. And hey, look at that, we pull a 0. So that'll do it. So that'll give us one of those clues off the location. And then her last action on the turn, actually it's going to be to take a resource. Probably should have done that first, but there's our resource for Jenny. That will do it for her. I'll go flip her mini card over, and we'll move over and we'll say hello to Ursula. Hi, Ursula. We'll set your spin down at 2 because you're going second on the round. If you ever want to focus for me. There we go. So we'll set that on 2, and we'll set her D6 on 6 actions, or on 3 actions. Action 1, she's going to spend 4 of her resources to play her main ally, Dr. Milan Christopher. As we recall, this gives you +1 lore, and after you successfully investigate, you get a resource. For her second, so 2 actions left. Her second action is going to be to investigate, and unlike Jenny, she is up 2. Another 0, so that gives us the last clue off the location. Move that up there. And it gives Ursula one of those resources back that she used to play Milan. So that'll work there. For her third action, we're going to head up to the map, so I'll be right back. Ursula's third action is actually going to be to move up to the records office. So we'll take a look at this. Alright, 4 clues, 3 shroud. For 3 actions, if you are not engaged with any enemies, one at a time, take 4 basic investigate actions. Shelves of folders line the walls of this room, and for some strange reason, they are completely waterlogged. You notice that the ceiling has partially collapsed due to mold and rot, and water drips from the ceiling and onto the floor. Webs stick to your shoes with every step you take. Victory 2, we'll get the 4 clues. Put that back down there. There are the 4 clues going onto the records office. So that will do it for Ursula. We'll flip her mini card over just out of sheer habit. No enemies to deal with in the enemy phase, so we'll go back up top for the upkeep phase. Before I do, I'll reset the mini cards. We're back up top for upkeep phase. Both investigators are actually going to go to 3 resources. Ursula will get 1 resource, which means one of these will flip to a 3. Jenny will do the same thing as well. She will actually go to 3 resources as well, because she collects an additional resource during each upkeep phase, if you remember from the intro video. And then we'll draw our cards for the turn. What does Jenny draw? Ooh, Hallowed Mirror. 2 resources, 1 will to play. Limit 1 per deck. Forced. After Hallowed Mirror enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Soothing Melody. Add 1 to your hand and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Hallowed Mirror leaves play, find each of these copies of Soothing Melody, even if they are out of play, and remove them from the game. So they'll go back among her bonded cards. Ursula draws. I've got a plan. 3 resources to play, lore and a combat on commit. As an action, it gives you the fight action. This attack uses lore. You deal +1 damage for this attack for each clue you have, max +3 damage. That's the worst plan I've ever heard. Well, what are we waiting for? I suppose you gotta try it, right? But anyway, that will do it for the upkeep phase. Now let's move right into the Mythos phase, and we don't even have to go anywhere. So we'll grab our first Doom. We'll put it on the agenda. And Jenny will draw her card from the deck of Doom first. She draws a Suspicious Orderly. It's a hunter. Suspicious Orderly can't attack, be attacked, or be dealt damage. When Suspicious Orderly is engaged with you, you can't investigate. So unfortunately, Jenny has a friend. What does Ursula draw? Ooh, Whispers of Hypnos. Peril. Choose a skill. Will, lore, combat, or agility. For the remainder of the round, each investigator gets -2 to the chosen skill. You cannot choose a skill that has already been chosen by a copy of this effect this round. No god or daemon could have aspired to discoveries and conquests like those which we planned in Whispers. H.P. Lovecraft, Hypnos. Alright, so looking at Ursula, I think I'm okay going -2 will for the round. So we'll put that up here by the deck as a reminder. That will do it for the Mythos phase. Next up will be the investigation phase, and I think our starting investigator there will be Ursula Downs. So we'll move over to the map for that. Here's Ursula, so we're going to set her spin down this round, on the 1. And then her entire turn is going to be just using the ability on the records office. So for 3 actions, since she's not engaged with an enemy, she's going to take 4 basic investigate actions. And she's up 2. So first investigate is going to yield. Ooh, this is the Elder. Let me get this to focus here. Alright, that's the Elder thing. So when we come over to the scenario card, and we find that the Elder thing is -X, where X is the number of infested locations. Right now that's 0, so we get 1 clue. I'll just put that over here out of the way so I can move that over later. Second basic investigate action. There's a +1, so we're 2 for 2. Let's see if we can keep that going. That's a skull that has clearly seen some love. So the skull is -1, -3 instead if you're engaged with a staff enemy. We're not engaged with a staff enemy, so we get a third clue. And let's see if we can get that last one in one shot. Ooh. And unfortunately, on the last basic investigate action, Ursula gets tentacle touched. So we don't get that clue. We don't get that last clue. We do get 3 of the clues, though, and we'll also get 3 resources. The reason I didn't take each resource individually was I just wanted to do it all at the end in one shot. So there are 3 clues going on to Ursula's player dashboard. We'll take another of her 3 resources, and we'll put that on her dashboard as well. That will do it for Ursula. Next up will be Jenny Barnes, and we'll move back over to Jenny's play area for her turn. Here's Jenny. We'll set her spin down at the 2. Now, she is engaged with an enemy, but Suspicious Orderly can't attack, so we don't have to worry about attacks of opportunity. Which is good, because for 2 resources, we're going to play that Hallowed Mirror that she just drew. So there's the Hallowed Mirror. We have the copies of Soothing Melody down here. One of them is going to be going into her hand, so we'll take a quick look at it. 0 cost to play. Will, Lore, or Agility on commit. Heal 2 damage or 2 horror or any combination thereof from among investigators and or ally assets at your location. Draw 1 card. Illusions Semet Au clair de lune. My French is terrible. Au calme clair de lune triste et beau. Paul Verlaine, clair de lune. Like I said, my French is probably terrible. So we'll take the other 2 copies of Soothing Melody, and we'll shuffle them into our deck. Give that a quick shuffle. All right. And for her second action, so that was her first action. So she has 3 actions. 3 actions left on the turn. There's the 3. Her second action is going to be to take another resource. So there's the resource. Her third action is going to be to spend those 2 resources and play her copy of Arcane Studies, which is her resource dump for Lore and Will. Then for her last action on the turn, she's just going to take a resource back. That will do it for Jenny. If that Suspicious Orderly we'll zoom out to it. If that Suspicious Orderly would have actually dealt damage during the enemy phase, now's the time it would actually dealt damage and could attack. Now's the time it would do that during the enemy phase, but the enemy phase is over. So we'll move straight into the Upkeep phase. I'll go over to the map, flip over Ursula and Jenny's player cards, and then we'll get them their resources and their cards. So Ursula will get a resource and go up to 7 resources to start. Jenny will gain her 2 resources and go up to 3. From her deck, Ursula will draw Perception. 2 lore on commit, max 1 committed per skill test. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. At last, I've found it. Let's hope you have, Ursula. Jenny's card is Stunning Blow. Will 1 combat on commit. It's a skill. If this skill test is successful during an attack, automatically evade the attacked enemy. Thud. Alright, so we have that to bear in mind. And now we go to the Mythos phase, where actually end of round, Whispers of Hypnos goes away. So now we advance the agenda. So let's see what we've got on the back here. Agenda 1B. Unsettling developments. As you continue to explore the hospital, the oddities you have observed become more and more frequent. Thick, dark cobwebs now cover the corner of every room. Spiders crawl along the walls and the ceilings, emerging from seemingly nowhere and vanishing just as quickly. It's not just your imagination. An infestation of spiders has taken root within the hospital. And not just any spiders, they are larger than average, with long, jagged, barbed legs and great hairy abdomens. Perhaps even more worrying is the complete lack of hospital staff roaming the halls. Aside from several wary and frightened orderlies, you see no other staff members, not even any nurses or doctors. Where has everyone gone? Shuffle the set-aside Spiders encounter set and each copy of Outbreak into the encounter deck, along with the discard pile. Draw the set-aside The Infestation Begins story card and resolve its text. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab the Spiders encounter set. I'll actually grab the Infestation Begins story card as well. Alright, so... okay, this one. Alright, so we need... right, I needed Outbreak as well. Alright, so first we'll take a look at the copy of the... well, actually we won't take a look at anything until we draw it in the Mythos phase. So that'll be going in with the deck. I'll do that as part of the off-camera stuff. But let's take a look at the Infestation Begins. Place one damage token on the location with the most clues. The two locations with the most clues if there are 3 or 4 investigators in the game. For the remainder of the scenario, damage tokens on locations represent the spreading infestation. Each location with a damage token on it is an infested location. Alright, so first part of that, we will take a damage token. And we'll put that on the records office, which is our only location with clues right now. Alright. Create a separate bag consisting of the following tokens. Skull, 4 runes, and 2 cultists, and I do have another bag, so we don't have to worry about that. This is the infestation bag, and these are infestation tokens. They are not chaos tokens. Some abilities will instruct the players to make an infestation test. An infestation test may cause the infestation to spread to other locations or endanger investigators at infested locations. To resolve an infestation test, an investigator must reveal a random infestation token from the infestation bag and resolve the effects for that token as indicated on the other side of this card. Flip this card over and place it next to the scenario reference card. So similar to the scenario reference card, which I've had to reference a few times, the tokens in the bag each do something different. But I'll go through that more when we start having to make infestation tests. And then I'll do everything else for that off camera, and then we'll go through the new agenda, and then we'll start off with the Mythos phase. So I'll be back. We're back. So our infestation bag is all set up. It's a Nintendo characters bag. So we'll put that off to the side along with the chaos bag. Let's take a look at our new agenda. Agenda 2A, the infestation spreads. A monstrous presence has infested St. Mary's. It lies inside the walls and watches you from all sides. In mere minutes, it has spun thick, sticky webbing throughout each of the rooms you visit. The lights are either flickering or out across the hospital, and some of the more advanced medical machinery is broken and covered in cobwebs. Forced, at the end of the Mythos phase, make an infestation test. Right, so that's going to be kind of annoying, but nothing we can do about it now. I'll reset our D6s. 3 for Ursula, 4 for Jenny. Ursula's card from the Mythos deck is... Sickening Webs. Revelation attached to your location. Each spider enemy at the attached location gains Retaliate and Alert. Investigators can't move out of attached location. As an action, test Combat or Agility 3. If you succeed, discard Sickening Webs. So we'll attach that to the records office. Means Ursula's stuck there. Jenny's card. Oh joy! Outbreak. Perform an infestation test. If you are at an infested location, which we are not, treat each rune token you reveal as a skull instead. So we'll go back to our handy dandy infestation bag. And we draw a rune. So here's the Infestation Test reference card. Rune means set this token aside. So we're starting off with a nothing happening there. That will do it for the Mythos phase. Now we're back into the investigation phase. That'll move to the discard pile. But anyway, we are still out of the Mythos phase, so we'll move into the investigation phase, and our first investigator will once again be Ursula Downs. So we'll move over to the map and say hi to Ursula again. Almost forgot. It's not quite Ursula's turn yet because we still have to make an infestation test at the end of the Mythos phase. So Ursula draws another rune, which we saw earlier. From the infestation bag, this is the token we want to see. So we'll put that to the side with the infestation test, and now we're back to Ursula. So Ursula is going to start with a basic investigate action. She's up to trying to get that clue. And the cultist is... So let's go to the scenario reference card. Cultist is reveal another token. If you fail in its agenda 2 or 3, and it is 2, make an infestation test. So we'll put that to the side here, and we'll go into the bag for another token. Oh dear. That is the skull. That is a skull. And the skull is -3 if you're engaged with a staff enemy, but it's a -1 because we're not engaged, so we get the last clue. Ursula gets another resource to put her up to 8 resources. Action 2, we'll put that back in the bag as well. Action 2 for Ursula, so she'll have 1 action left on the turn, is to try to get rid of that sickening webs. So that is a combat or agility. She's going to use agility with 4, and she's going to commit... I'm actually not going to commit to it, so we're just going to test up 1. And we pull the Elder thing, which is -X, where X is the number of infested locations, 1. But she was up 1 going into the test, so she passes, which means this is gone. And then for action 3, Ursula's going to move down to the wait. We'll zoom out for Ursula's action 3. She'll move down and join Jenny in the waiting room. That will do it for Ursula. Next up will be Jenny Barnes. Now Jenny's turn, looking at her hand, I think she's going to start with... I was going to try to start with evading, but I think I'm going to do better if... I keep the orderly with Jenny. So fortunately, she doesn't have to move. Well, she's going to move, but she doesn't have to evade the orderly right now. So we're going to zoom out. And we'll take a look at where we're going to send Jenny. So we're going to move Jenny down to the emergency room. That's action 1. So let's take a look at the... emergency room. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. While you are in the emergency room, each of your skill tests gets +1 difficulty for each card committed to it. This room contains the aftermath of what must have been a gruesome admission. Splatters of dried blood cover the mattress in the center of the room, and medical supplies, bandages, gauze, and syringes litter the floor. Victory 1. So we'll go get the 2 clues for that. And that was Jenny's first action. So there are the 2 clues, which we'll put on the emergency room. Action 2... Action 2 actually will be to try to evade the suspicious orderly, and I'm going to commit unexpected courage to the test to go up 3. So we'll leave unexpected courage right there, and Jenny is up 3. Actually, she's up 3. Actually, she's up 2 because it gets +1 difficulty for each card committed to it. So that's the Elder Sign. Jenny's Elder Sign is +1 for each resource you have. So that's effectively a +3, which means Jenny passes by a lot. So she'll evade the orderly there. That was action 1 was to move, action 2 was to evade, so she has 2 actions left on the turn. And that'll move to Jenny's discard pile. Action 3 will be to investigate up 1. -1, so Jenny gets the clue. And her last action will be to run that back again, still up 1. Actually, I take that back. Before we go into the test, I'm actually going to spend a resource into Arcane Studies and go up 2. And once again, we pull the -1, so we get the last clue off the location. Already doing almost as well as Lola and Harvey did last week without getting rocked. But that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, our only enemies evaded, so we'll move back up top. So we'll do a little bit of maintenance here, so we'll flip over the mini cards. We'll bring the suspicious orderly back over with Jenny, and then we'll move up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for upkeep phase. Ursula will get a resource and move up to 9 resources. So one of these singles will flip over to a 3. One of Jenny's will also flip and bring her up to 4 resources. Ursula's card is... oh God, Call of the Unknown, so we need to get her moving. Revelation, put Call of the Unknown into play in your threat area. Forced, at the beginning of your turn, choose a location other than your location. When your turn ends, if you did not successfully investigate the chosen location this turn, take 2 horror and shuffle Call of the Unknown back into your deck. Ouch. So that'll go into Ursula's threat area. Jenny draws... oh, come on! Both weaknesses. Searching for Izzy. Alright, Revelation. Attach Searching for Izzy to the location farthest away from you. 2 actions to investigate. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, discard Searching for Izzy. Forced. When the game ends, if Searching for Izzy is in play, Jenny Barnes suffers 1 mental trauma. Yuck. Alright, so furthest location from Jenny is going to be the records office. That's rather annoying. But there's nothing we can do about that now. So, that will be the end of the upkeep phase. We'll grab a Doom and put it up on the agenda. There's our Doom. We'll put that on the agenda. And Ursula's Mythos card is... oh, jeez. Suspicious orderly. So this is the same thing that's harassing Jenny. Speaking of Jenny, let's see what she draws. Swarm of spiders. Yikes. Swarming 2. X equals... Okay, so 1-1-X, where X is the number of swarm of spiders enemies at this location, including swarm. And each swarm of spiders is going to do 1 damage. So we're going to grab 2 cards from Jenny's deck. 1, 2. There's our swarm of spiders enemy. So right now it's an evade of... It has an evade of 3. That's going to be a problem. Alright, so looking at our board, we are in pretty dire straits right now, but I think we might be able to get out of this. But, well, we're not quite in that dire straits yet, but we'll need to do something about this. Anyway, that'll do it for the Mythos phase. We'll be back into the investigation phase, and I think Ursula once again is going to lead us off. So we'll move back over to the map for that. Actually, we'll start at the play area, and then we'll move over to the map. We're actually not going to start Ursula's turn yet, because I've been being dumb, and we've been sitting on 8 clues for a couple turns now. So I'm actually going to go ahead and spend our 8 clues. 5 from Ursula. Move that up there. And 3 from Jenny, so we can advance the act. Act 1B. A promising lead. From hospital records and snippets of hushed conversation, you are able to glean that there was recently another patient in the hospital whose condition closely mirrored that of your friend's. After being comatose for weeks, the patient abruptly and inexplicably awakened just this morning. Baffled, the doctors have quarantined the patient somewhere in the basement of the hospital below the eastern ward. Put the set-aside stairwell and basement door locations into play. Check the current agenda. If it's 2 or 3, and it is, we'll be making an infestation test. We'll say it in English one of these times. Alright, so we grab the set-aside stairwell and the basement doors. So we'll put the stairwell through an unmarked door in the hall behind the experimental therapies ward. A dark staircase leads deeper into the hospital. And then all 3 of these basement doors have the same flavor text on the unrevealed side. One of several unmarked wooden doors in the cold, musty basement of St. Mary's Hospital. So we'll put all of those locations into play. And then we'll take a look at Act 2A. Search for the patient. You need to learn where this mysterious patient is being kept. If you can find them and speak with them, perhaps they can provide some answers about what is happening to your friends. Objective: if an investigator controls Randolph Carter, advance. Alright. Now that we've done that, now we'll move back over to Ursula's play area. We're back with Ursula. Now, an observant viewer might notice something missing from Ursula's threat area. It hasn't gone completely away, it's actually moved over to the map, and once we move over to the map, we'll take a look at that. So, let's go ahead and start with her turn. The reason something's moved is because the first thing we need to do is we need to evade the suspicious orderly that's currently on Ursula. Fortunately, she's up 2 trying to evade it, and action 1 is going to be trying to do exactly that, but I'm not going to commit anything to the test. So, looking in the bag, we're up 2. No, we did make a test at the end of the Mythos Phase. Never mind. Alright, so up 2 trying to evade. skull is, of course, -3 because we are engaged with a staff enemy. That's unfortunate. Action 2. So one action left will be to try to evade. +1 gets her away from the suspicious orderly. So we'll put that on the location. And action 3 will take us over to the map. Action 3 brings us over to the map and a very familiar and unwelcome sight. Call of the Unknown. So I've named the Experimental Therapies ward as Ursula's location this turn. So for action 3, Ursula is going to move over to the Experimental Therapies ward. Shroud of 4 clues. When you investigate Experimental Therapies ward, take 1 horror. Experimental Therapies ward gets -2 shroud for this investigation. This room is filled with beds, each one surrounded by a partition curtain. High-tech machines sit next to each bed, ready to administer all sorts of radical treatments. Victory 2. So we'll get the 4 clues for that. And then we do get to take an investigate action. Actually, I don't think we did take a test from that now that I look at it. We had an outbreak. No, I think that was last turn. So I don't think this will change anything, but we will take an infestation test real quick. This is from last turn. Right. Fortunately, it's a rune, so we don't do anything, and that doesn't change our turn. Now, coming back to our current situation, Ursula is up 2, and she's going to have to... Actually, Ursula is only up 1? Taking an investigate action after she moves. So we are going to take the investigate action, and we're going to commit perception to the test. So that effectively negates the 2 horror. Or the need to take horror. So she's at 5, 6, 7 to 4. She's up 3. Let's see if we can get one of these clues. More importantly, not the Call of the Unknown go. A 0. A 0 gets her a clue and a resource from her handy-dandy friend, Dr. Milan. So she goes up to 10. There's her resource, which will move over to her player area. Perception also draws her a card. So Ursula draws Magnifying Glass. Fast, you get it's a 1 resource to play, 1 lore icon on commit. Fast, you get +1 lore while investigating. A lens into a world unseen can reveal things you wish it hadn't. And then as a fast after that, she will play the aforementioned Magnifying Glass. And the Call of the Unknown will move back to her threat area, but it doesn't go off. That's the most important part. So that will do it for Ursula. Now we'll move back over for Jenny's turn. Jenny, we do not want to get rocked by that swarm of spiders, so let's see what we can do about that. Action 1 will be to attack it, and I'm going to commit Stunning Blow to the test. This is the skill we drew earlier. It's going to give us an extra combat icon, and if it's successful during an attack, automatically evade the attacked enemy. So that puts Jenny up 3. A 0. That'll kill 1 of the swarms, which will put it on the bottom of her deck. And evade the other swarm and the host. So at least we won't get rocked this turn. There's the Stunning Blow. Action 2 will be... So we'll be at 2 actions left. Action 2 will be to evade the suspicious orderly. And we are up 1. Yeah. Better leave it there if you can. A 0 will let us leave him behind, thank God. Actions 3 and 4 will take us over to the map. We're back at the map. Very quickly before we start Jenny moving. When I drew searching for Izzy, I had to put it at the furthest location away. None of the basement door locations or the stairwell were in play at the time, so I had to put it up at the records office. So that's where searching for Izzy ended up. But anyway, coming back to our current turn. Action 3 is going to be to move Jenny over to the Experimental Therapies ward. I'll say it in English one of these times. And then Action 4, I'll try to pull these apart a little bit. Action 4 will be to move Jenny over to the stairwell. So let's take a look at the stairwell. Shroud of 3, 2 clues. After you enter stairwell from a non-basement location, so we're coming from the Therapies ward, move to a basement location, then test Agility 4. If you fail, take 2 damage. Forced, after stairwell becomes infested, make an infestation test and victory 1. Alright, so we'll get the 2 clues for it. After you enter stairwell from a non-basement location, move to a basement location. That's a reaction, so we don't have to do that. But I will go grab some connecting arrows. So that will connect. And we've got connections there, there, and there. And Jenny is going to move to a basement location. So we're going to move to this one. We'll have to make the test in a minute, but let's take a look at the location she's revealing first. Okay. Alright, so we have a private room, Shroud of 4, no clues on it. As an action, let me zoom in here. As an action parlay, test Will 4. If you succeed, test Lore 2. If you succeed, investigators at this location may spend 1 per investigator clues as a group to give control of the set-aside Randolph Carter asset to an investigator at this location. The patient you've been looking for sits on a bed in the middle of this dark room. You ask him about his condition, but he merely replies, "Why should I help you? You'd never believe me anyway." Alright, but we do have to make a test here. So Jenny's going to test Lore, is going to test Agility 4. She's down 1. Is there anything I can commit? There is not. So we're just going to make the test down 1. We pull an Elder Thing, which is going to be a further fail, so Jenny is going to take 2 damage. So I'll grab one of these 2 damage tokens. We'll put it on her dashboard. That will do it for Jenny in the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we have no ready enemies. So we'll just be over to, we'll go back up, once we reset everything over here, we'll go back up top for the upkeep phase. So we'll reset these. Reset these, reset that, and we'll be back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase, so we'll start off with resources. Ursula will get 1 resource and go up to 10. Jenny will flip over her 1 over here. Getting 2 resources. Come on, there we go. That'll flip over to a 3. And then we'll draw a card. Ursula's card first is Hyper-Awareness. Same thing as Arcane Studies that Jenny has out, but this works on Lore and Agility tests instead of Will and Lore, like Arcane Studies. Jenny's card is Overpower. 2 combat icons on commit, max 1 per skill test. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. Die, you beast! But anyway, that's it for the upkeep phase, and around nothing happens. Now we go into the Mythos phase. So, another Doom up on the agenda. We'll go ahead and show that off. Doom up to 2. Ursula's card from the deck of Doom is... Oh, Lang Spider. Forced. 3 combat, 4 health, 3 agility, or 3 evade. Forced. When the enemy phase ends, add 1 swarm card to each swarm of spiders enemy in play. If there are no swarm of spiders enemies in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a swarm of spiders enemy and spawn it at Spider of Lang's location with no swarm cards. 1 damage and 1 sanity for 1 horror for damage. Jenny's card is Locked Door. Attached to the location with the most clues and without a locked door attached to it. The attached location cannot be investigated. As an action, test Combat 4 to break down the door, or Agility 4 to pick the locks. If you succeed, discard Locked Door. And we have to attach that to the Experimental Therapies ward. Anyway, now that we're at the end of the Mythos phase, I'll actually remember this time to make the Infestation Test. Alright. We draw the last rune. So if we remember the bag, everything else in there now is bad. So we'll put that to the side because that's set aside. That will do it for the Mythos phase. Next up will be the Investigation phase. And our first investigator, once again, will be Ursula. So we'll move over to Ursula's play area and start her turn. We're back with Ursula. I'm going to move Call of the Unknown over to the stairwell because that's going to be the location we choose for this turn. First thing we have to do, though, is we have to evade the Spider of Lang that's right over here. So she's up 1. Is there anything I can do to help that out? Yes, there is. I'm going to... Yeah, I'm going to... Actually... What we're actually going to do is I'm going to pay 2 resources. I'm going to take an attack of opportunity for 1 and 1. So there's a damage and a horror. We'll put both of those on her player dashboard. To play Hyper Awareness, that's her resource dump. For a second action, I'm going to evade, and I'm going to spend these 2 resources to get up 3. The Elder Sign. Oh, this is beautiful. +1. After this test ends, you may move to a connecting location, which is exactly what she had in mind. So we're going to evade the spider, and then from the Elder Sign, we're going to move back over to the map. Alright, so Ursula's Elder Sign move is going to be over to the stairwell. And then from her ability, where after you move to a location, take an investigate action, we're going to do that, and we are up 3. -1, so that gets us a clue, gets us a resource from Milan, and most importantly, Call of the Unknown does not go off this turn. So that's fortunate. And then for action 3, Ursula's going to try to get that last clue. So she's still up 3. Skull is -1 because she's not engaged with a staff enemy. So that gets her the last clue off the location. Another victory point. So there's the clue moving over to Ursula. And another resource for Ursula from Milan. So that's all 3 of Ursula's actions after a very long turn. We'll flip over Ursula's mini, And then we'll move over to Jenny's play area for her turn. Here's Jenny. So for her first action, we're actually going to start tooling up a little bit because I'm expecting a bit of a fight. So she's going to spend her 6 resources, put those off to the side, to play her 45 Thompson. Uses 5 ammo. As an action, spend an ammo to fight. You get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. So we'll grab our 5 ammo tokens. 3, 4, 5. 5 ammo. Once again, these tokens are from LCG Tokens on Etsy. Link to their Etsy shop will be in the description box down below. So that's all set. That's her first action, so she has 3 left on the turn. Action 2 will be to play a soothing melody on herself. So she's going to heal that 2 damage she took from falling down here and draw a card. So there goes her 2 damage. We'll see what she draws. Hard Knocks, skill dump like Ursula has, like she has, for will or for combat and agility. Action 3, I think actions 3 and 4 will probably be just to take two more resources. We'll get ready for making we'll get ready for that, hopefully that parlay next turn. So Jenny's 2 resources coming back to her. That will do it for Jenny's turn. We'll flip her mini card over. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase will take us back over to the map. Alright, enemy phase is going to be rather involved. 2 suspicious orderlies moving into the experimental therapies ward. Now that's it for the hunters moving. No attacks happen because nobody's at the same location. So at the end of the enemy phase, add a swarm card to the swarm of spiders. We do have a swarm of spiders that's right over here. So we'll add a swarm card from Jenny's deck to it. Hopefully this isn't the card that we need to save ourselves in this scenario. Then we'll move back up top for upkeep phase. So that'll ready. We'll ready these minis, and we'll be back up top for upkeep phase. We're back up top for upkeep phase. So each of our investigators will get a resource. Ursula will go up to 9. And Jenny will also get her 2 and go up to 4 resources. And Ursula will draw. Eureka! 1 will, 1 lore, 1 agility on commit. If this skill test is successful, the investigator performing this test searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles his or her deck. We might be making a test this round, but we'll have to see. Jenny's card is a 41 Derringer. Uses 3 ammo. Action: spend an ammo to fight. You get +2 combat for this attack. If you succeed by 2 or more, this attack deals +1 damage. It also takes a hand slot, so that's definitely going to conflict with the Thompson, where if we tried to play this without another card that could let us have more hand slots for weapons in play, we'd have to discard the Thompson, and I don't want to do that yet. So that'll do it for the upkeep phase. Mythos phase, we put a Doom up on the agenda, and then we go into our Mythos cards. Ursula draws. Writing remains. Revelation Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take a horror. We are at even. Is there anything I want to commit to this test? Yes, there is. I'm going to commit a copy of Guts to go up 2. Skull is a -1 because we're not engaged with a staff enemy, so Ursula passes. That gets discarded, and Ursula gets to draw a card. Ursula draws. Another copy of Perception, same as Guts, only 2 lore icons. Jenny's card is Dissonant Voices. Put it into play in your threat area. You can't play assets or events. At the end of the round, discard Dissonant Voices, which we weren't planning on doing anyway this round. So that will do it for Jenny. That will do it for the Mythos Phase. At the end of the Mythos Phase, we do have to make an Infestation Test. So we'll grab our Infestation bag, which is deceptively cheerful, I have to admit. And we know it's all bad tokens right now in the bag. Cultist. So we come to the Infestation Test. Cultist, set this token aside. Choose a location connected to an infested location. That location becomes infested. We'll place a damage token on there to mark it. Then, if there are 2 or more cultists set aside, return all set-aside infestation tokens to the infestation bag. Unfortunately, we only have 1 cultist set aside right now, so we'll take a damage token, and we have to choose a connected location, so the only one is the waiting room. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos Phase. Our first investigator up will be Ursula Downs, yet again. Here's Ursula. So the location we're going to name with Call of the Unknown is the private room, but I don't think we're going to be able to stop it from going off this turn. So what we're going to do is for 3 actually we're going to play 2 assets for 6 resources. So we're going to spend, for action 1, we're going to spend 3 resources to play her, where is it? Her Tooth of Esbly. This is the one that gives her an agility and a will when resolving something on a treachery. And after we succeed while resolving something on a treachery, exhaust it to draw a card. So that'll be action 1. Action 2 will be another 3 resources. For the Chthonian Stone, we get to seal one of the dangerous symbols, the rune, the chaos, the cultist, the skull, or the elder thing. And after she reveals a tentacle during a test, return it to her hand. So the token we're going to pull out of the bag. Generally, I only like being able to seal these bad tokens when I can take an effect completely out of the bag. So right now I like it early in the campaign, but later on in the campaign, the Chthonian Stone I think is one of those cards that generally is in my decks to be replaced later in the campaign, when the bag is too hideous to have all this dangerous stuff in it. But what I think I'm going to pull out, I think I'm going to pull the Cultist out of the bag. Because revealing another token and having to make an extra infestation test, to me seems like a dangerous thing to do. So that's the token we're going to seal on the Chthonian Stone. We'll give the rest of the bag a mix-up. And there's the Chthonian Stone with the Cultist on it. And then action 3, she's going to move into the private room. We'll flip her Investigator Mini over. At the end of her turn, she didn't successfully investigate it, so she's going to take 2 Horror and shuffle it back into her deck. So we will grab... So actually, we're going to grab a 2... We'll put that on her dashboard. And then we'll shuffle Call of the Unknown back into her deck. Alright, so we're all shuffled up. Next up is Jenny. And Jenny is fortunately not going to be playing any assets or events this turn. So, what she's going to start with, though, is she's going to start with the Parlay test. She's going to test her, her will first. We'll spend a resource into Arcane Studies and go up 2. Pull out the -1, so we're successful there. Now we get to make the lore test. And she's going to spend another resource on that to go up 2. And Ursula, to this, is going to commit her perception. So we're going to make sure, I want to make sure we pass this test. So that's 2. Jenny's at 3, 4, 5, 6. So Jenny is up 4. But Ursula will get the card if this test succeeds. And a 0. So test is successful. Ursula draws her card. She draws... Wow. Did not want it to go away that soon. But more importantly, we will spend 2 of Ursula's clues. There are those. Put those back in, and we'll give control of... To choose, if you succeed, investigators at this location to give control of Randolph Carter to an investigator at this location. So let's take a look at Randolph Carter. Randolph Carter chained to the waking world. 3 resources to play: lore, will, and question mark on commit. You get +1 lore and +1 will. After an Elder Thing symbol is revealed during a skill test at your location, exhaust Randolph Carter, draw 2 cards. 2 health, 3 sanity. And I'm going to give him to Ursula. So that'll enforce her lore a little bit more. But we also get to advance Act 2A. Act 2A. Carter's statement. After some persuading, you manage to convince the blonde-haired man to listen to your story. Once you explain to him what has happened to your companions, he shakes his head in solemn understanding. I knew this Virgil fellow would cause trouble. If only I had convinced him not to write that story. You ask him what he means, and he lets out a long sigh before elaborating. It's all true. All of it. The Dreamlands is real. And I believe that something is causing it to merge with the waking world. That's where all of this is coming from, he explains, motioning to the spiderwebs in the corners of the room. With your help, I may be able to temporarily stop the infestation from spreading. Then we can investigate this matter further. He rises from his cot and shakes your hand. My name is Randolph, by the way. Randolph Carter. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the deck. So everything that we've drawn is getting shuffled back in. Then we'll give that a cut. And we'll go through our new act. Act 3A, Containing the Outbreak. With the aid of Randolph Carter, you must attempt to close the rifts that have opened between the Dreamlands and the waking world. Each infested location gains action. Test Will X to attempt to seal the rift. X is this location's shroud. Investigators at this location may spend 1 per investigator clues as a group to automatically succeed. If you succeed, replace the damage token on this location with a horror token. For the remainder of the game, this location cannot become infested. Objective: if there are no infested locations in play, advance. Alright, so that was Jenny's action 1. We'll move that perception out of the way. Action 2 will be to get her moving. So I'm going to send Jenny in first. Action 2 will be to move Jenny to the stairwell. Action 3, Jenny will move up to the Experimental Theories ward and make all kinds of friends. Both of these suspicious orderlies and the Spider of Lang will move over to Jenny's threat area. And then we'll move back over to Jenny's play area for Action 4. Alright, we're back at Jenny's play area. Action 4, she's going to start working over the Spider of Ling. So she's going to spend an ammo from her 45 Thompson. So we're going to spend an ammo at that. 3, 4, 5 to 3. And she's going to commit... She's going to commit her Overpower. Go up 4. Alright, so... Here's a cast bag. So Jenny is up 4. Thank God we committed the Overpower to go up 4, because that's a -3 since she is engaged with a staff enemy. She's actually engaged with 2 staff enemies, but she does do 2 damage to the Spider of Ling. We'll put that back in, and from Overpower, Jenny gets to draw a card. Let's see what she finds. Perception. That's 2 lore. If you succeed on the lore test, you draw a card. Alright, so that is phenomenal. That will do it for Jenny on the action, or on her player investigation phase. Enemy phase, hunters would move, only the hunters are already in place. So Jenny gets attacked for 1 and 1. She'll just go ahead and take that herself. So we'll grab 1 of each. A damage and a sanity. There those are. Then it would exhaust and re-engage with her on the upkeep. It would exhaust to the location and re-engage on the upkeep phase. But because she's the only investigator there, I'm just going to leave it. But that will be the end of the enemy phase. So we're into upkeep phase. Each investigator will gain a resource. Ursula will gain 1, go up to 4. Jenny will also go up to 4 by one of her singles, flipping to a 3, and we'll draw cards for the turn. Ursula draws. Mind over matter. Fast. Play only during your turn. 1 resource to play. Lore or combat and agility on commit. Until the end of the round, you may use your lore in place of your combat and agility. Jenny draws. Emergency cash to gain 3 resources. Alright, end of round, Dissonant Voices goes away for Jenny. We'll move all of that. Alright, now we're into Mythos Phase, so Doom going up to 4. And Ursula's Mythos card is... Threads of Reality. Oh boy. Revelation. Attached to the non-permanent, non-weakness asset you control with the highest printed cost. Otherwise, it gains Surge. Treat attached asset as if its printed text box were blank, except for traits and forced abilities. As an action, discard an asset you control. Discard Threads of Reality. Unfortunately, our highest cost here is Dr. Milan, so it has to be attached to him. But we can get rid of that pretty quickly. Jenny's card is... Night Terrors. Put it in play into your threat area. After you fail a skill test, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Draw each weakness revealed this way and remove the other cards from the game. Action, if Night Terrors is in your threat area, test Will 4. After this test ends, discard Night Terrors even if you fail. So you have to do the forced first, but then you get to discard it. So that'll go into play in her threat area. It's the end of the Mythos phase, so we have to make another Infestation Test. We have 2 tokens left in here. One's a skull, the other's a cultist. And we find the skull. So let's find out what the skull does on an Infestation Test. Alright, so we search it for a... So we search the encounter deck and discard pile for a spider enemy and spawn it at the infested location nearest to any investigator. Fortunately, the Experimental Therapies ward is not infested, so we can spawn it at the waiting room. Which one are we going to grab? What are we going to grab? We're going to grab something from the deck. And I think we're going to grab Looks like the only thing we can grab is a swarm of spiders. So we'll grab another swarm of spiders. The swarming will be coming from Jenny's deck once again. Alright. Oh, that reminds me. Okay, I think we did add... No, we didn't add the spider at the end of the enemy phase. So we'll have to do that real quick. Once I give this a quick shuffle and a cut, I will do that. Alright. So we're actually going to pull 3 cards off of Jenny's deck. I can't count. One for the swarm on the existing swarm of spiders, and the other 2 will go on the new swarm of spiders. So that will do it for the Mythos phase. We'll go into the investigation phase, and for the first time in probably about 4 or 5 rounds, our first investigator will be Jenny Barnes. Here's Jenny. We'll set her spin down to 1, and we'll move Ursula's to 2. Job number 1 for Jenny this turn is killing this Spider of Ling right here. And I think I'm willing to take an attack of opportunity to do it. So for 2 resources, she's going to take a damage and a horror on her attack of opportunity. But I'm going to play her copy of Hard Knocks. So once again, this is another skill resource dump. This one gives you lore and agility, or not lore, combat and agility. So now we can theoretically buy her way out of any test. But for action 2, so we have 2 actions left on the round, be another charge at the Spider of Ling, and I'll pump a resource into it to go up 3. The Elder Sign is a +1, but most importantly, the Spider of Ling is dead. So we can get rid of that. Action 3. Action 3, I think, is going to take her... I think action 3, we're going to try to get rid of Night Terrors next. So we're going to get rid of her Treachery. So that's going to be a will test. Right now she's down 1. I'll pump her last resource into it, into Arcane Studies, to get her to even. The Elder thing is definitely a fail, so we do the Forced first. So we reveal the top 3 cards of her deck, we draw the weaknesses and remove the others from the game, but we do get rid of Night Terrors. So first card we're losing is a Guts, which we've seen before. Second card we're losing... Oh, we have to draw her weakness. This is her basic weakness, is Reckless. Commit only to a skill test you're performing of any type that has no other cards committed to it. Other cards can't be committed to this skill test. If this test fails, return this skill to your hand. Forced. If Reckless is in your hand at the end of your turn, reveal it and lose 2 resources. Yuck. And the other card we're losing is... Manual Dexterity. Skill dump for agility. But we do get rid of Night Terrors. So, Blast 1, Test 2. Action 3... Action 3 will actually try to break down the door so Ursula can work on these clues. She's down 1. I'm going to... Actually, that's all I can really test, is down... Ugh. Yeah, I think we're going to have to commit... Actually, no, Action 4... No, I don't want to play that yet. Action 4 will be will be to try to break the door down. I'm going to commit the Derringer. I commit the Derringer for the combat icon to get to even. And of course the -1 fails us. That's unfortunate, so we'll flip over Jenny's mini card, and we'll move over to Ursula. So Ursula's turn will take us over to the map. Here's Ursula right up here in shot. We're going to name the Experimental Therapies ward, but unfortunately Call of the Unknown is going to go off this turn, so because we have other things that we need to deal with. So Ursula's going to move Action 1, Action 2, and Action 3, she's going to try to break down the door herself. She is up. And technically that does count as a... Does that count as a treachery? Yes, it does count as a treachery. So 4, 5. We'll pump a resource into her hyper-awareness to get to 6 and go up 2. So a 0 breaks the locked door, and then surprisingly, because of her ability, after we move to a location, we can take an investigate action, and we're going to. So we're going to commit... We're actually going to commit her copy of Eureka to this test, to go... So we're at 4... Right now she's at 5 while investigating, 6, this puts her up 2. Oh, 7 because of Randolph, she's up 3. The Elder Sign. Nice. So, we do get a clue. Call of the Unknown does not go off, shockingly enough. And we get to search the top 3 for a card. So let's see what Ursula can choose from. Ursula's first choice is... Fieldwork. I think we saw this earlier. Yep, this is something that's been in her hand for a while, so there's that. Next card up. Unexpected Courage. Similar to the skill dumps, 2 question marks, so you can commit it to whatever you need, but you don't get to draw a card from it. Last up, Guts. I think just because that we're going to have a bunch of will tests trying to finish this scenario up, we're actually going to go ahead and take Guts. So that will do it for that. Alright, we'll give that a quick shuffle. And a cut. We'll give that one more shuffle and a cut just to make sure I got it all. So there's the shuffle and our cut. That will do it for Ursula. Somehow we kept her Call of the Unknown from going off. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, neither are swarms of spiders or hunters, but we definitely need to deal with them sooner rather than later. But that will do it for the enemy phase. Let's go back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for upkeep phase. Ursula gets a resource, goes up to 4. Jenny gets 2 resources because that's her thing. So there are Jenny's 2 resources. Jenny will draw. Another Stunning Blow. We know what this does because we used it to a great effect earlier. Ursula draws. Hyper Awareness, another copy. She's already got 1 in her threat area, so we might not need that. And I forgot to exhaust Tooth of Esclay on the on the locked door after all the hubbub I had about that. So anyway, that will do it for the upkeep phase. Mythos, we'll grab a Doom. There's our Doom, we'll put it on the agenda. We're up to 5 now. There we are, we're up to 5. Jenny will draw. Glimpse of the Underworld. Put it into your threat area. Forced, when you would take damage and or horror, take 1 additional damage or horror. As a fast action, discard it, then take 1 and 1. We may just get rid of that right now. Ursula draws. Dissonant Voices. You can't play assets or events. Forced at the end of the round, discard it. Right. Okay, so a rather benevolent, I would say, benevolent Mythos phase in the grand scheme of things. We're back to the investigation phase. First up, I think, will be Jenny, once again. And her turn is going to start at the... what are their turns going to be? Actually, I think we're going to start with Ursula, and her turn is also going to start at the map. We are at the map, but we're not quite ready to start Ursula's turn yet. Because we still have to make an infestation test. There's only 1 token left in here. Gee, I wonder what it is. Oh, look at that. It's our last cultist. So we choose a location connected to an infested location. We're going to name the experimental therapies ward because it is connected to the waiting room, which is infested. So we'll make that infested. And then we'll reset the infestation bag. So everything's going back in. We'll give that bag a mix-up. And then we'll be over. Now we'll actually get to start Ursula's turn. So for Call of the Unknown, we're going to name the waiting room, but I don't think we're going to be able to stop it from going off. At least the plan here is not to. So for action 1, I'm going to discard the magnifying glass so I can discard Threads of Reality from Milan. So we've got that taken care of. Action 2 will be to investigate up 3. Up 4, 5, 6, no, up 2. And I will spend a clue to go up 3. Or spend a resource to go up 3. Skull is -1 because she's not engaged with a staff enemy. So we get a clue and the resource back. Now that we've got Milan turned back on. Action 3 will run that back. I think being up 2 should be just fine. -2 will work just fine. So we'll get the last clue. Move that over to Ursula's play area. Give her a resource. But unfortunately, she does take 2 horror from Call of the Unknown. So we'll give her another 2 horror. Put that on her dashboard. And we'll shuffle Call of the Unknown back into her deck once again. And hopefully this time, I'll try not to shuffle it back to the top. But with a deck that's got this few cards in it, that's a very distinct possibility. So that's it for Ursula. We're not going to go very far because Jenny will be up next. And for her first action, we're actually going to go ahead and just spend those 2 clues. Actually, first thing she's going to do, she's going to take 1 and 1 to discard Glimpse of the Underworld. So we're going to give her another damage and a horror token. There are those. I am loving these dashboards that I got from Team Covenant. There's the damage and the horror. So we're done with that right away. For her first action, Let's see. Test Will X, where X is the shroud. Investigators may spend one per investigator clues as a group to automatically succeed. Alright, so Jenny's first action is going to be to take that test, but she's actually going to spend two of Ursula's clues, because they can spend them as a group, to automatically succeed. So we'll swap the damage out on here. So we'll swap the damage out with a horror, which means that location can't be infested for the remainder of the round. Action 2 for Jenny. Oop, I'm looking at Ursula's hand. Jenny's action 2 will be to move up to the waiting room. She'll make friends with the swarm of spiders. Bring that back over to her threat area. Action 3 for Jenny will take us back over to Jenny's play area. Action 3 for Jenny is she's going to take a shot with the .45 Thompson at the swarm of spiders. And we're going to try to get this Reckless out of her hand. So fortunately, she is now 5. I'm going to spend a resource to get to 6, which is going to put her up 5, trying to do 2 damage, which will take out 2 of these swarms. Alright, Elder Thing is a -X, where X is the number of infested locations, which is 2. So, we've accomplished a lot there. Reckless is out of Jenny's hand. 2 swarms are dead. And now we're going to try to punch the swarm of rats. We're up 2. Or the swarm of spiders, I should say. I have horror stories about rats. And the spiders are punched too. Phenomenal. Alright, so that is the end of Jenny's investigation phase. That's the end of Jenny's turn. That's the end of the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we don't have any well, the 2 hunters in play are already engaged with Jenny, and they have been for quite a while, so that brings us to upkeep phase while we're right here. So each investigator will get their resource. Ursula, one of her resources will flip over to a 3 and bring her up to 6 resources. Jenny's single will flip over and become a 3 because she gets 2 resources. And we get to draw cards. Ursula will draw. Shortcut. Okay, this is actually pretty welcome. So fast play only during your turn, 0 cost to play, will and agility on commit. Choose an investigator at your location. Move that investigator to a connecting location. You know this town like the back of your hand. And Jenny will draw. Another copy of Hard Knocks that we have in play already. So that will do it for the upkeep phase. End of round, Dissonant Voices goes away. Mythos phase, the agenda advances. Let's take a look at that. Alright. Agenda 2B, Hell Breaks Loose. Suddenly, chaos breaks out in the hospital. The sound of chittering and crashing emerges from the walls. In the darkness, you can barely make out the shapes of bizarre spider-like creatures scurrying in the distance. As you round a corner, you spot an orderly writhing on the polished floor, convulsing violently as though possessed by an insidious force. You rush to his side and flip him onto his back, and find that nearly all of his face is covered in thick webbing, and his eyes are wide and glazed over. He does not react as you shake him. Find each suspicious orderly enemy in play, and replace it with a set-aside corrupted orderly enemy. It keeps its game state, all tokens, and all attachments. Search the encounter deck and discard pile for each copy of suspicious orderly and remove them from the game. Shuffle the set-aside Agents of Oddlock Naka encounter set, each remaining set-aside corrupted orderly enemy, and the encounter discard pile into the deck. Add a skull and a cultist to the infestation bag. So the first thing we'll do, we'll take the skull and the cultist and add them to the infestation bag. We'll give that a quick mix up off camera. Then we need each suspicious orderly, which conveniently has been engaged with Jenny the whole time. And we'll replace them with corrupted orderlies. Twos across the board, still hunters. Forced, when corrupted orderly is dealt one or more damage while at an infested location, cancel one of that damage. Both of those are going to end up engaged with Jenny. And the last thing we need is to shuffle the Agents of Atlak Naka encounter set, along with any remaining corrupted orderlies, but we only had the 2, along with the discard pile, back into the deck. Okay. Give that a cut. And that's all done. So now we'll look at our new agenda, which is also the last agenda for the scenario. Agenda 3A, Hospital of Horrors. The entire building has become infested with a sinister evil, something that does not follow the laws of nature. You need to find some way to either stop it or to escape before it consumes you too. Forced, at the end of the Mythos Phase, make an Infestation Test. Each spider enemy at an infested location gets +1 fight and +1 evade. 8 doomed to advance. So right now, Jenny is at an infested location, but hopefully we're gonna fix that this turn. Anyway, we have Mythos cards first. Ursula gets Outbreak. Perform an infestation test. If you are at an infested location, treat each rune token you reveal as a skull instead. Ursula is not at an infested location, so she gets to have the runes behave as normal. Unfortunately, that is a cultist, so we have another infested location, so we have to infest another location. So we'll put a damage on the emergency room. That's unfortunate. Jenny draws. Another outbreak. That's annoying. But unfortunately, we have to treat it as a skull. We have to treat runes as skulls for Jenny because she is at an infested location. Unfortunately, the rune is a skull, so we have to search the encounter deck and discard pile for a spider enemy and spawn it at the infested location nearest any investigator. Unfortunately, Jenny being at an infested location means it's going to spawn on top of her. So, what do we want to grab here? Ugh. Am I going to get greedy on this one? That seems like a really bad idea, though. No. I think getting greedy here is, well, I don't want another swarm enemy in play. Getting a big boy out seems like it's going to be a bad idea, but we could use the victory points, so... Alright, I'm going to risk it. We're going to grab one of these big boys. We're going to grab a Grey Weaver. 4 combat, 5 health, 3 evade. Prey, lowest agility, hunter. While Grey Weaver is ready, each investigator at its location can't take move actions. Victory 1, 1 damage, and 2 horror. Yikes. We'll give the encounter deck a quick shuffle. What to do, what to do. Alright, we will give that a quick cut. And that will do it for the Mythos phase. So that'll bring us back to the Investigation phase. And I think our first player this turn is going to be Ursula once again. There is something about this scenario. We're back at the map. Ursula is going to start this round, but we need to make the Infestation Test at the end of the Mythos phase first. I swear, I need to put like a token or something on there to remind me, hey moron, remember to make this test. But anyway, let's see what we get. We pull a rune, which does nothing. Fabulous. Alright, so Ursula's going to start. So we're going to start off with a shortcut, and she's going to move up and go join Jenny. That's not even an action yet. So for action 1, she's going to make the test, and she's going to spend another 2 of her clues to automatically succeed on the test to seal the rift. So we've got 2 clues there. Once again, we'll swap out the damage with the horror, so the location can't be reinfested this round. Then for action 2, we're going to spend 3 resources. There are her 3 resources. And we're going to play... Ooh, I should have done this in the other order. Alright, so rewind that for a second. I know, I needed to do it this way. So actually, now I don't want to spend those resources, because now that's basically useless. Alright, so here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to spend 1 resource on a fast to play Mind Over Matter. So now we're using her lore in place of her combat and her agility. For action 2, we're going to take an attack at the Grey Weaver. We're taking a risk here in that if we miss, we hit Jenny, but I've got something of a plan here. So we're going to use, so we're at 4, 5, 6 to 4. We're going to spend a resource to 7 to go up 3. Elder Sign, +1, which would let her move, but we don't want to move. So we're going to put a damage on the Grey Weaver. And then we're going to do it again. So we're going to spend another resource to go up, what were we at? 4, 5, 6, 7 to 4. So we're up 3. -1, that's another damage on it. So that is it for Ursula. So we'll flip that over. Jenny's turn will take us back over to her play area. So we'll be right back. Alright, Jenny, let's start blasting here. Let's start with one of these... What to start, what to do. Let's start with one of the orderlies. So we're going to blast it, and we're up 3. I want to try to clear as much carnage out of here as possible. Skull is -3 because we are engaged with a staff enemy, so that fails. Alright. We'll try it again, and we'll spend a resource to go up. Spend a resource to go up 4. Actually, wait a minute. Hold up. So, 3, 5 to 2, because we're not at an infested location. So actually, we killed the first orderly. I can't do first grade math. So now we do get to run it back. I'm not going to spend the resource yet. I'm still up 3, so we won't worry about that just yet. Tentacle touched. Fantastic. All right. Well, I think for her third action, Jenny is actually going to try to punch the Grey Weaver, and I'm going to commit Stunning Blow to the attack. So that gets me to even, and then I'm going to spend her resources to get her up 3. See, is there anything Ursula can do to help with that? There is not. Okay, 0 puts another damage on the Grey Weaver, but more importantly, stuns it. More importantly, it's evaded. And then for action 4, we're just going to try to punch the orderly up 1. I'd like to get some damage on it if I can. Make it a little easier to kill it next time. -2 won't work. That's unfortunate. But that will do it for... Actually, hold up. Action 1 to kill the first orderly. Action 2 we got tentacle touched. Action 3 we stunned... Okay, yep, so 4 actions. So Jenny is also done. She takes 1 and 1. This will exhaust, so Jenny will take 1 and 1. We'll flip these over to 2. So now she's at 4 health from dead, 4 sanity... 4 health from defeated by damage, 3 sanity from defeated by horror. But anyway, no other hunter enemies in play, so we are back to Upkeep Phase. So on Upkeep, this will exhaust re-engage to Jenny, as will the Grey Weaver. We'll flip both of the Investigator minis over. Ursula will get a resource. Jenny will get 2, because that's her thing. Ursula draws... Deduction. This would have been useful way earlier in the scenario. 1 lore icon on commit. If this test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location. I knew I had seen this symbol before. I must warn the others before it is too late. Jenny draws. Unexpected courage. 2 question marks, max 1 committed per skill test. Alright, that will do it on the Upkeep Phase. Mythos, we put a Doom up. And let's see what Ursula has for her Mythos card. Ursula draws. Frozen in Fear. Put it into play in your threat area. The first time you perform one of the following actions, move, fight, or evade each round, it costs 1 additional action. Forced. At the end of your turn, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard it. Alright, and then Jenny draws. Another swarm of spiders. They are determined to keep us pinned down here. So that's another 2 cards. That will do it for the Mythos Phase. At the end of the Mythos Phase, I will remember to take my Infestation Test. Cultist, which chooses a location connected to an infested location. Looking at our current layout, we actually don't have any locations that are connected to infested locations. So the cultist is effectively a do-nothing as well. But because we have 2 more of them set aside, we do reset the infestation bag. We do put them back in. So, Jenny is in real trouble right now. But the question is, what am I going to be able to do about it? We are in serious trouble. I will have to have a think about that. We're in the investigation phase, but I got to figure out what we're doing. Alright, I've had some time to think about it, and I think Ursula is going to go first. My plan here, for her first action, she's actually going to engage the swarm of spiders off of Jenny. Because Jenny can't take all of this, and I'm going to try to kill that Grey Weaver on her turn. So for actions 2 and 3, Ursula is going to try to evade it. She's at 4 right now. I'm going to commit her extra copy of Hyper Awareness to bring her up 2. Looking at the bag, I think that's the most dangerous thing in there right now. Well, other than the tentacle. So she's up 2. Right, the Elder thing is a -2 right now because that's the number of infested locations. So the swarm of spiders is evaded. We'll put that on the location. And then for the end of Ursula's turn, she's actually going to test her Frozen in Fear to try to get rid of that. She's at 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to commit Guts to bring her up 4. Mostly because I also want to work through her deck a little bit. So up 4. -1, so Frozen in Fear can get bent. That can get discarded. And then I was resolving a test on a Treachery. So we'll draw from Guts, but I do get to also exhaust Tooth of Esflea to draw a card from that. So her draw from Guts is Inquiring Mind. This is basically completely useless. Commit to a skill test only if there's a clue on your location. That is probably coming out of the deck. And then her draw from Tooth of Esflea. Let's remember to exhaust it. Another copy of Fieldwork, which is also basically useless because the location's empty of clues. That'll do it for Ursula. Now we'll move back over to Jenny. Alright, Jenny, we have one job this turn. We need to survive this turn, and we can do that one of 2 ways. The preferable way is to kill the Grey Weaver, because that'll get us more experience coming out of the scenario. Alternatively, we need to evade one of these enemies, because we're just going to die if all of these stay on. Actually, you're going to be defeated by horror if these all stay on you. So, let's see if we can't do a little killing here. So, first action, she's going to punch the Grey Weaver. Hard Knocks, she's going to commit her other copy of Hard Knocks to get to even, and then spend her last 2 resources to go up 2. And Ursula is not going to commit right now. We're going to save it for the next test. So, attacking 3, 4, 5, 6, up 2. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Skull is -3 because she's engaged. Fantastic. Alright. So that failed. We'll run it back. Unexpected Courage to go up 1, and Ursula this time is going to commit her I've Got a Plan to put her up 2. The Elder thing's a -2, so that actually works, so we do get to do a damage to it. Action 3, unfortunately we're going to have to just punch it. That's discarded, that's discarded. Yeah, we're going to have to punch it down 1, ick. Let's try to evade, that's actually for action 3, we'll evade the orderly up 1. And Ursula will give her a copy of Fieldwork to put her up 2. -2. All right, so the Corrupted Orderly is evaded. And now we'll try to punch the... this is bad. Do we want to try to punch the Orderly down one? That seems like a dangerous play, so I think we're going to try to evade that as well. Ursula will commit her other copy of Field where it can put Jenny up 1. -1. Okay, so Jenny is at least not in that dire straits right now. So that's her last action. Enemy phase would happen at this point, except there are no ready enemies right now. No hunters in play that are ready. So we're back to Upkeep Phase, and I'm going to double check something on the Upkeep Phase. Alright, we're back with the Upkeep Phase. I had to check something on the timing of how this phase goes. So we ready everything that's been exhausted. So I'm going to give the Orderly and the Swarm of Spiders to Ursula. The Grey Weaver I have to give to Jenny because it's looking for lowest agility, and Jenny is the lowest agility at 3 to Ursula's 4. So it's all going to come down to this draw, basically. So Ursula draws... Magnifying Glass, which is highly useless. +1 book while investigating. But what I'm looking for Jenny is a weapon. And I'm hoping I find one here. That'll work. Unfortunately, I don't have the resources to play it, because I had to use them to try to kill the Grey Weaver last turn. Fantastic. Alright, so that's the end of the Upkeep Phase. Mythos. Another Doom going up to 2. Ursula draws. Dissonant Voices. Fantastic. So she can't play assets or events this round. Jenny draws. Night Terrors. Oh joy. So we had this earlier. As an action, test will 4. If the test ends, discard it even if you fail. So again, we have to do the forced on that first before we get to discard it. So that is the end of the Mythos Phase. We are in very serious trouble as I look at the board. But that go away option is looking very tempting right now. And looking at our situation, I think we're going to end up with trauma all around. So, oh, we got to make an infestation test as well. I swear, I always forget this. So, our infestation test gives us... Be a dead one, be a dead one. A dead one. Fantastic. And the reason the cultist is a dead token out of the infestation bag is because we can't get to we can't make a connection to an uninfested location, thanks to stopping the experimental therapies ward from from clearing that infestation and having the other 2 locations become infested already. So, all right, now we need to figure out how to take out this Grey Weaver before it takes Jenny out. Yuck. I wish Ursula could give Jenny some of her resources, but alas, she can't, and I have an even bigger she has even bigger problems on her hands anyway. So I think Ursula will start the round anyway, so we'll move over to Ursula. This won't take long, because we won't have to go very far with the shot. So Ursula is going to start off with... Ursula's going to start off with trying to evade the Corrupted Orderly. She's up 2 trying to. Where did I put... There you are. She's looking for the Chaos Bag. Up 2. -2 evades the orderly. Action 2 is going to be to try to... Action 2 is going to be to try to evade the swarm of spiders. We're up 1. We'll go up 2. Spend a resource into hyper-awareness, which reminds me. That gets discarded up 2. Elder Sign. So she does get to evade it, but she's absolutely staying put this round. And then action 3 is going to be to draw a card. Actually, what is action 3 going to be? No, I think action 3 is going to be to engage the Grey Weaver off of Jenny, because I have a plan. Anyway, that will do it for Ursula. Now we'll go back over to Jenny. Here's Jenny for action 1. She's going to play emergency cash and get 3 resources. So we'll take those. Action 2, what is action 2 going to be? Action 2 is actually going to be to engage the Grey Weaver right back, because I don't want to hit Ursula with friendly fire. Action 3, so we have 1 action left, is going to be to attack the Grey Weaver. We're going to commit the Thompson to get to even though I wanted to play this, and then spend 3 resources. We're going to spend 2 resources to get her up 2. I want to have at least some resources available to me if I need to punch it again. So up 2. The skull is a -1, so after all of that effort, the Grey Weaver is finally dead, and we get to add it to the victory display. So, emergency cash, engage it back, attack, last action, discard that. Last action will be actually to take a resource. So that will do it for Jenny on the investigation phase. Enemy phase, no ready hunters. So now we're on upkeep phase. So we'll give the... How do we want to do this? Let's give the swarm of spiders to Ursula and the corrupted orderly to Jenny. So now on upkeep, Ursula gets a resource. Jenny gains 2 to get to 4. Ursula draws. Another copy of Dr. Milan Christopher. Highly useless. Jenny draws. Dynamite Blast. That could be interesting. Alright, so 5 resources, will on commit. It's an event. Choose either your location or a connecting location. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and to each investigator at the chosen location. Unfortunately, it does provoke attacks of opportunity, so we do need to keep an eye on that. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. Doom is up. So we're up to 3 Doom on the agenda. Ursula's Mythos card is... Whispers of Hypnos. Peril. We've seen this before. I think we're going to go -2... -2 agility for the round. Alright. And Jenny draws. Wow. Not the card I wanted to see. That reminds me, Dissonant Voices goes away. We have another Whispers of Hypnos. We'll reset Ursula's character card, or Ursula's mini card. Whispers of Hypnos. We're -2 agility already for the round. I think we're going to add -2... This is a very bad situation. -2 will for the round. Alright, so... Okay, so... I think we're going to stick with Jenny. She'll go first in the next investigation phase. So Jenny, unfortunately, is going to have to take an attack of opportunity to do this. But she's going to take a resource, along with the aforementioned attack of opportunity. For her first 2 actions are both going to provoke attacks of opportunity. So we're just going to give her 2 and 2. We're going to shortcut it a little bit. So 2 horror and 2 damage. Because she's going to take a resource... and then spend those 5 Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Hold the phone on that. My plan was going to be to take the 2... was going to dynamite the location, but that's just going to take her out. That's a bad idea. Change of plans. Let me have a think on this one. Alright, change of plans. Jenny's still going to go first, but what she's going to try to do is she's going to punch the corrupted orderly instead. We're going to commit a resource. We're going to spend a resource into hard knocks and put her up 2. -1 lets us put a damage on the orderly. Then for action 2, we're going to run it back. Down to the spending a resource to put her up 2. -1 kills the corrupted orderly, thank God. Action 3, we're going to punch Ursula's swarm of spiders up 2. Elder Sign is a +2, so we get to take out a swarm. And then action 4 will be to hit another one. So still up 2. And we get tentacle touched. So Ursula takes a damage. And we have to flip out, and we remove the top 3 cards of her deck from the game. Let's hope we don't lose anything real good. First card we lose is Lone Wolf. Limit 1 per investigator. Reaction when your turn begins. If there are no other investigators at your location, gain a resource. I don't mind being on my own. That's when I do my best work. 1 resource to play, agility on commit. Second card she's losing is her other copy of Guts. Last card she's losing her other emergency cash, so she would have been able to gain 3 resources. That's unfortunate. And then for action 4, she's just going to take a resource, I think. So we'll flip that over. That'll be the end of Jenny's turn. We'll flip that over, and we'll move over to Ursula. Alright, Ursula's first action is going to be to try to evade the swarm of spiders. She's up 2. -1 evades it. The only thing I don't like is leaving it for Jenny to deal with, but she probably can. Action 2 will move her up. Actually, action 2 will take us over to the map. So, hold on while I reposition. Ursula's second action will be to move up to the records office. Unfortunately, as we saw earlier, we need 2 actions to be able to interact with searching for Izzy. Ursula only has 1 action left. But she's going to make the test on the Records, is she going to make the test on the records office? I don't think I can get up high enough to try it. 4 or -2, that's a 2 test. We might as well just test it at even. What's the worst? Well, I say what's the worst thing that could happen, but there's plenty bad things that can happen. So we're just going to make the test at even. -1. Okay, so the only cost there was the failed action. This is the lost action. So, yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's it for Ursula. That's it for the investigation phase. No hunters in play, so nobody moves. And we're back to upkeep. So all of these will reset. Swarm of spiders will come back to Jenny, and we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. We'll give Ursula her resource. And Jenny will take her 2. Jenny, from a rapidly thinning deck, will draw. Watch this. Commit only to a skill test you're performing. Will, combat, agility. As an additional cost to commit, watch this, to a skill test, commit up to 3 resources. If you succeed by 1 or more, gain twice that many resources. Show off. And let's see what Ursula draws. Manual Dexterity. Like we saw earlier, it's another skill card with 2 agility icons. If you succeed, draw a card. Too easy. Alright, so both of those copies of Whispers of Hypnos go away. We put another Doom up. There that is. And Jenny's Mythos card is Glimpse of the Underworld. When you would take we saw this before. When you take an additional damage or horror, take 1 additional of whatever you're taking. There's a fast action, discard it, then take 1 and 1. Ursula draws. Oh boy, Grey Weaver. Yeah. I think our plan here is probably going to be to try to get out of here as fast as we can. So, Ursula's got a big friend. So, we are in a bad, bad way. So we'll have to have a think about what we're doing here. Actually, before we do that, we need to make an infestation test. Okay, Rune does nothing. So phenomenal. Alright, so Ursula cannot take an attack from that Grey Weaver. That's going to get her defeated by horror. Jenny is not in a much better predicament. She's actually going to take 1 and 1 to get rid of that Glimpse of the Underworld right now. Just so it's out of our way. So there's her 1 and 1. Alright, so Glimpse of the Underworld is gone. Okay. Now, what are we going to do this round? Well, Ursula, like I said, needs to get away from that Grey Weaver. So I think we're going to go over and have Ursula go first. Alright, so first thing on Ursula's agenda this round is absolutely going to be evading that Grey Weaver. Right now she's up 1 trying to evade it. And she's going to commit the manual dexterity she just drew to go up 3. Alright, Ursula, let's have this. -2. All right, so that Grey Weaver's evaded. Ursula gets to draw a card. Copy of Unexpected Courage. Cool. All right. Then we're actually going to try to seal... We're actually going to go ahead and try to seal that rift. So we're at 4. We're up 2. We're going to commit Unexpected Courage to go up 4. All right, -2 gets us the rift sealed. So we'll swap out the damage on there with another horror. Come on, there we go. There's the horror for the swap out. Action 3 will take us over... Actually, Action 3 will be to move Ursula down to the waiting room. That will do it for... I'm looking at her hand, just to make sure there's nothing there. That will do it for Ursula in the investigation phase. Up next will be Jenny. Jenny's first action is going to be to punch that swarm of spiders, and I'm going to commit her Watch This to the test. So that's going to put me up 3. Into that, I'm going to spend 3 resources. So I'm up 3, and I'm trying to get 6 resources out of this. So, up 3. A 0. So that kills a swarm and gives Jenny a total of 6 resources. So the 3 we committed to that, plus another 3 that we committed, plus another 3 from doubling for Watch This. So that's phenomenal. Action 2 will be to just punch it up. We'll put her up 3. I'll reset her spin down. So we're punching it up 3. -1, so the swarm is dead. And then for action 4, we're going to spend 5 resources to bring her down to a total of 2. And we're going to play Dynamite Blast. We're going to choose the emergency room and just dynamite the hell out of that. So everything in there is dead. Everything in there takes 3 damage. Okay, so action 1, 2 to punch the swarm of spiders. 3. So I think we have 1 action left. So, yep, 1 action left. Action 4 will be to move Jenny down to the emergency room. So that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, no ready enemies in play. And we go to upkeep phase. So we're already mostly back up top. We'll just move the shot slightly. The Grey Weaver wakes up. Ursula gets reset. Each of our investigators get a resource and a card. So Ursula goes up to 6 resources. Jenny goes up to 4. Ursula draws. Another deduction that we don't need. Jenny draws. Liquid Courage. 1 resource to play. Will icon on commit. Uses 4 supplies. Action, spend a supply. Choose an investigator at your location to heal 1 horror. Then that investigator tests Will 2. If the test succeeds, he or she heals 1 additional horror. If the test fails, discard 1 card at random. So I'm not sure if we'll need that or not, but we're going to be going into the Mythos phase in a second. We're back for the Mythos phase, so here's our Doom going up. So we're up to 5 Doom on the agenda. Ursula's Mythos card. The unexpected courage should be discarded. Ursula's Mythos card is Will of the Spider Mother. Oh boy. Test. Revelation Test Will 3. If there's a spider enemy at your location, you can't commit cards to this skill test. If you fail, you can't attack or investigate until the end of the round. So there's not a spider enemy. We're up 1. There's nothing I can commit. So we have to make the test up. Actually, we're up 2 because of the tooth. Skull's a -1 because we're not engaged with a staff enemy. So we succeed. We exhaust the tooth to draw a card. And let's see what she draws. A useless I've got a plan. Fantastic. Jenny's Mythos card is Threads of Reality. Revelation attached to the non-permanent, non-weakness asset you control with the highest printed cost. Otherwise it gains Surge. Treat attached asset as if its printed text box were blank except for traits and forced abilities. Action, we saw this earlier. Discard an asset you control to discard Threads of Reality. So we'll put that on the Thompson and we'll just never take that off. So, right. Back to investigation phase. First up will be Ursula, and that will take us over to the map. Yet again, I'm an idiot and forgot to make my infestation test. So here we go with that. Rune, so nothing happens. Alright, anyway, our first investigator will be Ursula. Now, we have a bit of a decision to make here with Ursula. Because we can go up and conceivably try to get that searching for Izzy so Jenny doesn't take a mental trauma, but given that it's currently guarded by a very nasty monster that took almost everything to kill, and we don't have anything left from that, I think right now the best plan is just going to be to try to, frankly, get out of here. So for her first action, Ursula is going to move down to the emergency room and join Jenny. Then action 2, she's going to make the test on the agenda to try to seal that last rift. So Ursula doesn't have anything she can commit. She's already up 2. Let's see if Jenny can give her any help with that. She'll give her Liquid Courage for an extra will icon and put her up 3. Grab the chaos bag. A 0. So that's the last. So that's our last infested location. We'll swap the damage for a horror here. And then we look again at Act 3A. If there are no infested locations in play, advance. Alright, the next step. With the final rift sealed, the infestation ceases and the hospital returns to normal. Good work, Randolph says. Still, I believe this matter warrants further investigation. We do not know what caused this to happen. You remind him that there is also the matter of your companions who still refuse to wake. Yes, of course, that too. Come, let us go somewhere private where we can discuss what our next step should be. Sadly, I do not believe there is anything more we can do for your friends here, to aid your friends here. You don't know if Randolph means here as in the hospital, or here as in the waking world. But either way, it does not bode well for your companions. Check the campaign log. Dr. Maheswaran stayed with her patients, so in Resolution 3. We'll move back up top to start wrapping up the scenario. We're back up top getting ready to resolve the scenario. Before we start into the resolution, one thing we do need to note. The game's over and searching for Izzy was still in play, so Jenny's going to come out of this scenario with a mental trauma. But I think we can deal with that because Jenny was at 8 and 7 coming in. This will knock her down to 8 and 6, which I figure is a lot better than sending Ursula in and potentially getting her killed against that Grey Weaver. So we are looking for, what did we say? Resolution 3.
Waking Nightmare Resolution 3. Before you depart from the hospital, you go back to the emergency ward to check on Dr. Mythos Warren. The door to the room where your companions are staying is sealed shut, so you knock on the door and ask if she is there. On the other side, you hear furniture being shifted aside and knocked over. An exhausted Shivani Mythos Warren cracks open the door and peers at you with bloodshot eyes. Oh, thank goodness it is you. She lets you in and collapses onto a nearby chair. Those things tried to get into the room. I had to barricade myself inside to stop them. You inform her that the danger has passed and thank her for watching over your friends. I'll continue to keep an eye on them, she says. Just please, tell me there are no more spiders out there, or I'm taking the first train out of this town. As you leave, you swear to your sleeping friends that you will get to the bottom of this and save them. In your campaign log, record Dr. Mythos Warren is alive.
We'll pause that and make a note here. Dr. Mythos, let's help I can spell. Sworn is alive.
In your campaign log, record Randolph escaped the hospital with the investigators. Any one investigator may choose to add Randolph Carter, change to the waking world, the Dream Eater's card number 79 to their deck. This card does not count toward that investigator's deck size. Skip to resolution 5.
Alright, Randolph escaped the hospital with the investigators. And I'm giving him to Ursula. Once again, you can tell me in the comments if you think I should give her to Jenny, but given the lore boost on Randolph, I think Ursula is better suited to take him. So I'll give him to Ursula for the time being. Randolph Carter, chained to the waking world. And resolution 5.
Waking Nightmare, Resolution 5. You depart from the hospital with the blonde-haired man in tow, and he introduces himself more fully. The man, whose name is Randolph Carter, tells you that he is a dreamer, like Virgil Gray and your friends, one with the ability to traverse the divide between the waking world and a parallel dimension that was created by, is sustained by, and dwells within the dreams of all living organisms on Earth, a realm he calls the Dreamlands. It is a place of both dreams and nightmares, he explains, and I'm afraid your friends are trapped there as we speak. You ask if there is anything you can do to aid them. Randolph ponders this for a moment, then replies, normally, dreamers can return to the real world simply by willing themselves awake, but for some reason, your friends are unable to do so. If you truly wish to help them, you too must enter the Dreamlands and find them. But forcing your way into the Dreamlands is not easy. Such paths are usually accessible only to experienced dreamers and only in sleep. Still, there are some places where the Dreamlands touch the waking world, and in those places, with the right tools, you may enter the Dreamlands in your physical body. I know of such a place not far from here. However, before Randolph is able to finish his sentence, he is interrupted by a mysterious voice. Each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X of each card in the victory display.
Which came to a total of 7 experience because we emptied 4 locations with victory of their clues. So we got the victory, we got the records office, which had 2, the stairwell, which had 1, the experimental therapies ward, which had another 2, and the emergency room, which had another 1. So that's 6 plus the Grey Weaver that we were able to kill earlier in the scenario for our 7th victory point.
Remove the infestation bag and all infestation tokens from the game. There is no need to keep or record them. If you are playing the Web of Dreams as part of a 4-part campaign, proceed to Interlude 1, The Black Cat.
Which we are not.
If you are playing the Web of Dreams and the Dream Quest as an interconnected 8-part campaign,
which we are,
and you have not yet played Scenario 1A, Beyond the Gates of Sleep, proceed to that scenario.
We played that last week.
And you have already played Scenario 1A, Beyond the Gates of Sleep, proceed instead to Interlude 1, The Black Cat.
And let's proceed. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with the interlude. If you hear any background noise, just Pardon that, I'm starting to clean up.
And the Web of Dreams is an interconnected campaign, or if you're playing the Dream Quest Campaign A by itself, proceed to the Black Cat 1. If you're playing the Web of Dreams Campaign B by itself, skip to the Black Cat 3. The Black Cat 1. Following Scenario 1A, the Dreamers travel beyond the Enchanted Woods. As you travel out of the Enchanted Woods, you pass through rolling green meadows under a bright blue, cloudless sky. You speak with a blonde-haired man who introduces himself as Randolph Carter for several hours along your journey south. You pass through a town Randolph calls Near, and over a stone bridge spanning a wide river. Since the man seems friendly and knowledgeable about both your world and this one, you explain to him your situation, that you had followed the writings of a man named Virgil Gray to reach this strange land, in order to see for yourself the truth of his story. There is a place in Ulthar where you may yet meet this man for yourself, Randolph responds. When you reach Ulthar, I will show you. The town of Ulthar is not quite what you had imagined. The border of the town is marked by a cobblestone road separating its quaint cottages from the rolling green meadows beyond. Inside the town, narrow cobbled streets are filled to almost to capacity with cats of all kinds and colors, which part as you approach. Old peaked roofs and overhanging upper stories arch over the hilly streets. The entire village seems a haphazard cluster of homes and old-fashioned businesses. As you reach the town square near the center of the village, Randolph stops and addresses you with a youthful smile. Welcome to Ulthar, he proclaims. As I mentioned before, you are quite safe here. There's but one paramount law to keep in mind as you traverse this place. In the town of Ulthar, no one may kill a cat. Given how utterly packed the streets are with cats, you wonder aloud if this is indeed a town run by cats. Not quite, Randolph. Not quite, Randolph replies, pondering your words, though I suppose one might call it the center of cat society here in the Dreamlands. The reason for that law's existence is a story for another time. First, come. I have a feeling we'll find this Virgil fellow you speak of at Einar's. Randolph leads you through the town square, which is surrounded by buildings adorned with cat motifs in the form of statues, signs, and even stained glass windows. You eventually arrive at one such building bearing a sign that reads Einar's Place. Inside is a medieval-style tavern filled with long wooden tables. You spot several patrons and 3 times as many cats. One such patron at the wooden counter feeds one of the cats small strips of dried meat. He is a handsome man in his early 30s. With short dark hair, a strong jaw, and sharp cheekbones, you recognize him instantly as the writer Virgil Gray. In the back of your mind, you wonder if this chance meeting is merely an act of fortune or something preordained, for good or for ill. Regardless, you approach the man and introduce yourself, along with Randolph. Virgil shakes your hand and Randolph's with a joyful smile. Well met, fellow dreamers, the writer says, a hint of boyish excitement in his voice. It is wonderful to meet more fellow believers. I had become so sick and tired of reading about my supposed illness in the papers. You nod your head in agreement and inform Virgil that you intend to find some proof of this discovery to bring back to the waking world. Don't you think I tried that? He replies, stymied. Sadly, it is impossible for one who is asleep to bring anything from this realm into the real world. This is all imagination, you see. Ideas, concepts, fantasies. You cannot hold a thought in your hands, can you? Randolph interjects. There is a place within the Dreamlands that may hold the proof you seek. I have seen it in my dreams. I visited there 3 times, each time just a fleeting moment before I was snatched away by the rising sun. But try as I might, I cannot find the way again. I have spent many nights searching. Oh? Virgil asks, intrigued. And what is this place? It is a marvelous city, he describes, his eyes aglow with wonder. Golden and lovely like nothing I have seen before or since. A city beyond the peaks of the unknown mountain Kadath, where no one has ever set foot before. There, veiled within the clouds and crowned by stars, lies the onyx castle of the Great Ones. Virgil idly pets the cat on the countertop next to him as he is absorbed by Randolph's tale. It is a slender creature with lustrous black fur, dark as the void of space itself. Then we must find this place. Even if it does not have the proof we seek, it sounds like the adventure of a lifetime. Enough to fill 100 pages, or more. You tell Virgil and Randolph that before you commit to such an adventure, you must return to the waking world and tell your companions about your experiences. Just then, another voice, cryptic and quiet, chimes. Oh, you can't wake up. The eye is upon you now. You and the others spin your heads around, searching for the source of the voice. The barkeeper, another patron. Then Virgil's black cat stretches and sits up, its piercing yellow eyes reflecting the light of the sun through the window outside. I have waited a long time for you to seek Kadath, it says. You can talk, Virgil says, nearly toppling over his stool as he jumps in surprise. I'm a cat, you dolt. Of course I can talk, the black cat replies, licking its paw out of boredom. You have met 1,000 cats from Ulthar, and now you are surprised? But I thought... Virgil wipes his brow with his palm. Never mind him, the black cat says, addressing you directly. I assure you, you cannot cross back into the waking world until you find Kadath. It is your only way out. In the meantime, I will return and tell your companions about the quest ahead of you. It hops off the countertop and walks confidently toward the exit, though I imagine their task will be even more arduous. If you are playing both the Dream Quest and the Web of Dreams as interconnected campaigns, proceed to the Black Cat 2.
Which we'll be going through in a
Otherwise,
second.
the enigmatic cat vanishes out the door before you get the chance to respond. Proceed to Scenario 2A, the search for Kadath. The Black Cat 2. What shall I tell your friends in the waking world? The lead investigator must decide. Choose one. Tell your companions of your quest, your plight, and your peril. The Black Cat will return to you once this message is delivered. This may put an undue burden on your companions. In the campaign log for the Dream Quest, Campaign A, record the Black Cat delivered news of your plight. Tell your companions about your new friends and about the Dreamlands. In the campaign log for the Dream Quest, Campaign A, record the Black Cat shared knowledge of the Dreamlands. Tell your companions that they are in danger and that you are safe. The Black Cat will stay with them once this message is delivered. This might make your quest a little more difficult. In the campaign log for the Dream Quest, Campaign A, record the Black Cat warned the others. You don't trust this creature one bit. You threaten the Black Cat, warning it not to approach your friends under any circumstance. The Black Cat yawns and vanishes out the door. In the campaign log for the Dream Quest, Campaign A, record, okay, fine, have it your way then. Proceed to the Black Cat 3.
So our choices with the Black Cat amount to tell the cat to get bent, share knowledge of the Dreamlands, or send the cat to help one side or the other. I almost never tell the cat to get bent, and I don't plan to this time. So typically in this campaign, I'll send the cat where I think it's needed for a particular campaign. With Lola's, combined with Lola's stat values already pretty low and being knocked even further down with the mental trauma she took earlier in the campaign, there's a very real temptation to send the cat with the Dreamers. And I think given the way they got rocked, given the way Lola and Harvey got rocked, I'm probably going to send the cat with the Dreamers. Jenny and Ursula, Jenny took a mental trauma, but that was only because she couldn't get a weakness out of her deck. The Waking investigators have more experience to play with than the Dreamers, and like I said, with the extra trauma from the Dream, on the Dream side, I think we're going to send the cat, I think we are going to send the cat with the Dreamers. So, campaign log, record the Black Cat news, the Black Cat delivered news of your plight. News of your plight. And the Black Cat 3. So here's the Black Cat 3.
Following Scenario 1B, the investigators are confronted outside St. Mary's Hospital. You must be their friends, the enigmatic voice says from above. To your surprise, the quiet voice belongs not to a person, but to a black cat that lounges lazily across a tree branch hanging over the path outside the hospital. Oh, pick your jaws up off the ground and listen. The cat rises and leaps onto the top of a nearby fence, walking along it with the kind of grace only cats possess. It is one of the cats of Earth's dreamlands, Randolph proclaims, his voice tinged with merriment, like he was meeting an old friend for the first time in ages. How long it has been since I've spoken with one of your kind? The cat's piercing yellow eyes glare at Randolph for a moment before it returns its gaze to you. Sure. In any event, I bear a message from your dreaming friends. Choose the campaign log for the Dream Quest campaign, or check the campaign log for the Dream Quest Campaign A. Choose and read the section below that applies to your situation.
Alright, so we're looking for the Dream... So we're looking for the Dream... We're looking for the Black Cat delivered news of your plight.
If the Black Cat delivered news of your plight, so, your pals aren't looking too good. They wanted me to tell you that they're in a lot of trouble. They can't wake up until they fulfill this quest, and it's not going to be easy. The Eye of Chaos is watching them. You've got your work cut out for you, but you also might be their only hope. The black cat hops down from the fence and starts to walk away. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd better get back to your friends before they all get themselves killed. In the campaign log for the Dream Quest, the campaign A, record the black cat is at your side.
And I just put my pen down. Where did I put that stupid thing? Oh, there it is. It's on the other side. Okay, so for the Dream Quest campaign A, the black cat is at your side. And I will grab there we go. Come on, that's enough out of you.
Add 1 Elder Thing token to the Chaos Bag for both campaigns. If the black cat shared knowledge of...
Okay, so, nope, we're going to be quiet with that. So we have our Elder Thing tokens. This one's going in the Dreamer's bag. This one's going in the Waker's bag, the Waking bag. So we'll throw that in there. And this one into the Waking bag. Alright, so Jenny and Ursula did a little better coming out on their Waking Nightmare, picking up a bit more experience, even if Jenny kept Lola and Harvey company in terms of suffering a trauma, but they have a little more experience to play with, so we'll look at that. Probably sometime during this week I'm going to have another product unboxing. Then I'm probably going to do an upgrade video in that same video. Probably going to do upgrades in that same video just to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And then next week, we'll be back over to the Dreamers as they go into their second scenario and start their search for Kadath. Thank you for watching. If you like what you watched, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If I messed anything up, please let me know in the comments down below. I probably won't be able to fix it for this scenario, but I'll try to remember for next time. Follow me on YouTube for live streaming. I still have that big sleeving stream coming up, and I'm just about ready to get that running. So be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back in the future with more videos. Until then, take care, everyone.
Thank you.